Let's start off with
Okay.
What is the filter bubble? What do you know about it?
Well, it's a book by Eli Pariser. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And the basic premise of the book is that search engines are becoming more and more personalized. And there's a great incentive for search engine companies to personalize the information, so that if you look at Google or one of those other kinds of search engines, Bing, these days, when you type in a query, you often get presented some suggestions for how to finish the query. In effect, Google has said that they would really like to anticipate what you're going to search for even before you search it. So how could they do that? Well, they'd have to learn something about you and then learn the kinds of things you're interested in, predict what you're going to search for based on the kinds of things they already know about you. So first, it's gathering a lot of personal information about you to refine your perspective on what the search is, and then it's using that to focus the results on kinds of things they think you'd like to see. Okay, well, the problem is, according to Pariser, that as soon as they begin to do that, then you start to see only things that you know you're already interested in. There's a kind of feedback loop. And so you're constructing for yourself a kind of bubble, a kind of insulated space in which what you see is only what you think you intended to see. And there's less and less opportunity for opportunistic, outside-the-box connections that aren't directly related to stuff you already know.
Okay. Do you think that people know this is going on? Do you think people notice it? How much do you think they notice it?
Well, I think, and this is just a more personal impression than a research finding, but I think people are more and more aware that some of these technologies are becoming tailored to their interests. And actually, I think it's kind of not just amusing, but useful that sometimes when I begin to type into a search engine, it comes back with things that really are closer to what I'm interested in or refined in some ways. It can be really a time saver to do that. What I don't think people are aware of, and what Pariser is trying to do in his book, is to understand that feedback cycle that may tend to limit what it's possible for you to see. I don't think people really are aware of that.
So would you consider that, I guess, a con of the filter bubble, that it traps you? Could you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. Well, if it does trap you, and I'm not completely sure it does, but if it does begin to trap you, it means that basically you move more and more to an information universe that's insulated from other perspectives than yours. And in fact, if this kind of thinking invades social media, that is to say where people's information universes are linked together, then it may be that you become more and more conversant with, and your expectations center around people that you're already familiar with or that are like you. The concept in culture is called homophily. People who are, you're attracted to people who are like you. So in the end, we end up with, according to Pariser, some less diversity of opinions interacting and less diversity of knowledge flowing through society, little kind of capsules that are isolated from each other.
Okay. Do you see this continuing in the future? Do you think maybe someday there could be a law preventing it, or do you think it's just going to get more and more personalized, the web in general?
Well, I think the economic incentives for personalization are very high. So I think that the efforts in that arena are going to increase, and I think the technologies for doing personalization are definitely going to increase. And in fact, if you look at the difference between a system like Google, which looks at things like the architecture of links in the web as a whole as a way of understanding sort of the meaning of information, you contrast that with Facebook, which looks at the architecture of links among people and friends to begin to understand information. More and more of the decisions about what's interesting to you are going to be coming from information about you. So the economic incentives of being able to target advertisements to you, being able to guide you toward ways of thinking or products that are already on your radar screen, those kind of things I think will continue. And I don't know about the social mechanisms for constraining that or for opening up the box. I mean, some of that's individual responsibility where people really need to take it on themselves to look for things that are maybe outside their comfort zone or their usual way of seeing the world.